If someone suspects that they are not fulfilling their full potential in some way, if they're going through their day or their week with friction, feeling like there's more to life than this, there's more to me than this, then they should definitely stay.
How should they think about designing their dream life and achieving their goals and their dreams?
First step towards living your dream life is to... When I'm on my deathbed, what will I be wishing I did, or what will I be wishing my life had in it? And then plan your dream life from there.
What does that actually look like for you right now?
I live in a new city every 1 to 3 months. I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't do chores.
You do that 7 days a week, you don't have a weekend.
I feel like so much stuff is set up just to distract you. Oh, it's a Saturday, I can't possibly work today. Oh, it's Friday night, who works on Friday night? You could just play this normal person record on repeat in your head and it wouldn't get you anywhere. We're just not taught to think for ourselves at all. We're taught to pass exams to a mark scheme and do the bare minimum to do that, and then go and join a job and do the bare minimum to not get fired. It's calling bullshit on yourself again and saying, what am I just believing on repeat, which is controlling my thoughts, my words, my actions, and is ultimately dictating this life that I'm just living on autopilot.
Is another part of that forging new relationship?
A real trap is falling into hanging out with people based on nostalgia, because then you just meet up, you rehash old stories, you talk about the past. It's all about just what happened once, and you're not progressing. Every time you have that story, you're just reliving a past version of yourself. The most valuable, rewarding relationships are ones where you're...
What is a personal success system, and how can I unlock mine?
Everyone has a personal success system, they just might not know it, and how to find yours is...
For someone who's just clicked on the title or thumbnail, why should they stick around? What do you think they're going to gain from this conversation?
If someone suspects that they are not fulfilling their full potential in some way, if they're going through their day or their week with friction, or kind of feeling like there's more to life than this, there's more to me than this, then they should definitely stay. I've unbelievably been there, and I've figured it out, and I've got frameworks and methods and stories to share that I'm looking forward to talking about.
Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty much why I got you on. Every time I listen to you, I get so fired up and I want to call bullshit on myself and take action immediately. And I always learn something. And I know a lot of people who know you, and they come to you and they just think of you whenever they feel this way. They feel like they want to unlock their true potential and live this amazing life, their dream life. There's something I heard you say once. It's so many of us are operating so far beneath our potential. We need to call bullshit on ourselves and stop doing all the things we're doing mediocrely or don't even enjoy, so we can free up our time and just focus on the things we want to be world class at. What do you think when you hear that?
I believe that so much. So all of the stuff I write is pretty much advice to myself, and the voice in my head is quite angry with myself when I believe my own bullshit. So it's always like, come on, Jodie, you've got this. You know what you want to do. Just do it, get intentional, do stuff. So that's like advice to myself that then I share out online. And then the messages I get back are people saying, oh my goodness, it's like you're inside my head. And it's like, well, I'm inside my head, but it seems to help. It definitely revs me up and gets me into action.
And for context on you, for anyone who doesn't know you, let's talk about you a little bit. What are some of the things that you're well known for?
I started my own business when I was fresh out of university in a graduate scheme. I was 22 when I started it, and then I built it to a team of 20 people, and I had it for 10 years, and then I sold it just after COVID. I very much ran that business like a lifestyle business, but I went through a big struggle to get it to a lifestyle business, and then went through another big struggle when we shrunk loads during COVID, and then got very back involved, figured out how to grow it again, and then was able to sell it and have a really good exit. Spent a couple of years thinking about what to do next. In the meantime, I have been writing as a senior contributor for Forbes on AI and entrepreneurship, competing in powerlifting, competing for GB in squat, bench and deadlift. And then more recently, I started Coach Fox, which is a company that creates AI coaches. And I do all that while being fully nomadic. So I live out of my suitcase and I change location between 1 and 3 months at a time.
Yeah. And you forgot to say that you've published a couple of books as well.
Yeah, I've published a few books as well. Yeah, the main one's called 10-Year Career. I actually wrote 10-Year Career in 3 months. And I wrote it when I was waiting for the sale of my agency to go through, because we'd done all the stuff that we needed to do. I'd done all my due diligence and we were just waiting for lawyers. Every morning I got up and I spent 90 minutes writing my book, because I wanted to take all the lessons from 10 years of running an agency, of building it to sell it, and put them into a format that someone else could take and use as their kind of blueprint for how to do it as well.
Yeah. When I listen to you speak, I just think like, you're incredible. The amount of things that you've achieved, the amount of dreams and goals that you've fulfilled, and also just the way you live your day-to-day life. It's really cool. The way you travel nomadically, the way you don't observe weekends, which we'll get into, and how you spend your time and manage your time. I think it's incredible. For someone who's listening to this, how should they think about designing their dream life and achieving their goals and their dreams? Do you have a process or a way you like to think about it?
I think the first step towards living your dream life is to define what your dream life is. I think part of this involves being very intentional about who you hang out with, because there's something called mimetic desire, which means the people that you hang out with, you will subconsciously take on their beliefs and their wishes for the future. And if you hang out with a bunch of YouTubers, suddenly you're going to want your own YouTube channel. If you hang out with a bunch of consultants, suddenly you're going to start doing keynotes and getting clients. And it's like, but you might not want any of that. So I would probably have just a tiny period of time where you come away from everything. Don't listen to podcasts, don't read books, and just think, what do I want? When I'm like on my when I'm on my deathbed, what will I be wishing I did, or what will I be wishing my life had in it? And then plan your dream life from there. And for me, it looked like an empty piece of paper, which all the best things start with. And it was a list of every day, every other day, every week, every 2 weeks, every month, every quarter, every year. You don't have to do all those increments, but do those. And then write down all the things that you want your dream life to have in it, in those frequencies. And then after I'd done that, I costed it all out. So imagine I want to go for a fancy dinner every week, or I want to go to a new city every quarter, or I want to, whatever I want to do, I had it down. I think I had theme parks in there. I think I had go to a theme park every quarter, and I definitely don't do that. But the idea is that you cost it all out, and then you look at it and you realize that your dream life, the life of your dreams, is probably not that expensive, because so many of the best things in, like, it's really cringe, but so many of the best things in life are actually free or do cost very little. And then once you realize that, you can make the plan to just living it. No excuses, just living it.
To get super practical, what does that actually look like for you right now, like in your day-to-day?
Yeah, so I train twice a day. I do cardio each day. I do weights every day. I do focused work each day. I love doing things like this, so podcast interviews, ones where I host as well. I live in a new city every 1 to 3 months, or every 1 to 3 days. So I kind of, my travel goes at the extremes. It's either spend an extended period somewhere, join the gym, live like a local, or spend like 2 or 3 days somewhere and live like a tourist. And also I don't do anything that doesn't contribute towards my dream life. So I don't cook, I don't clean, I don't do chores, I don't have a TV.
Yeah.
I don't watch the news. I don't think I've ever been on BBC News on my laptop in my life. Uh-huh. And so it's just stuff where I'm very intentional about not doing them so that I can free up the space to live my dream life.
I've heard you talk about in the past how you, across the day, you have 3 things. Is it like obsession, profession, decompression?
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah. Nailed it. Yeah. So yeah, profession, obsession, decompression. I just think about everything in my life fitting into one of those 3 categories. So by profession, I mean the work that you do, and the work that only you can do. So I don't want the time I spend on my profession to be anything that my VA could do, or anything that someone else in my team could do. The idea is that someone else is doing everything that's using their superpowers to let me use mine. Obsession is everything I do outside work that I don't do professionally, but I still take very seriously. So for me, that's powerlifting, because I compete in powerlifting. So I'm always trying to get better at squat, bench and deadlift, and I'm always trying to stay in my weight category so I can always compete in a couple of months if I needed to. And then the cool thing about having a profession and having an obsession is that as long as you don't cross boundaries between them. While I'm powerlifting, all the stuff from my working day is just whirring around in my head, processing, and answers kind of arrive just out of nowhere because my brain's had a chance to switch off to work. I think if I didn't have an obsession, I would just be working all the time. And then I wouldn't get that stillness. I wouldn't find answers. I would just be kind of a busy fool. And then, so the obsessions as well is really fun, but I never feel like I want to do that professionally. I don't feel like I want to do my obsession professionally. Mm-hmm. And then also when I'm doing my obsession, I'm switched so far off to work. Like my phone is on airplane mode at all times. And that's a really strong boundary. There are so many people on the bench not getting any stronger because they're just on their phone as well. And I'm always like, what are you doing? Imagine how strong you could be if you were just focused on this. And then decompression is just everything else. And that's mainly just relaxing. But obviously relaxing doesn't rhyme with profession and obsession. So we had to have a fancy word for this. And for me, that is meditating, hanging out with friends, doing stuff where there's no metrics around it. So I'm not trying to tick off how much of a good tourist I'm being. I'm not trying to like gamify travel. I'm not trying to count or play a game with anything to do with switching off or relaxing. I'm just doing it. So I don't have, that you can get like meditation apps where you keep at the streak, mm-hmm. or you can gamify journaling. It's just this is the time where none of that stuff matters.
Do you do them every day? So like what's the kind of time split each day that you apply to them?
So the morning will be probably about 90 minutes of deep work. Then I do cardio for like 45 minutes. Then it'll be another couple of hours of less deep work. So if I'm having like interviews or speaking with people in my team or more collaboration work, then it'll be then. And then I train again. And then it might be maybe another hour of profession, but very much the smaller stuff. So I won't do any stupid little tasks earlier in the day. You know the stuff I mean.
I know what you mean, yeah.
They're gonna take you 5 minutes, but if you did it in the middle of your deep work session, you would feel like an idiot because you have to task switch and then task switch back. So there's probably an hour at the end of the day for that stuff. And that's the stuff where I'm always working on, can I give this to someone else? Can I give this to my VA? That's the kind of task list that's up for grabs. And then evenings are usually just decompression, just hanging out or going for food or something like that.
And you do that 7 days a week. You don't have a weekend?
I don't really. So yeah, we talked about this a little bit because we've just had a bank holiday, and I was like, you do the bank holiday thing. And so part of this is because I think that I love being very intentional about my life and ignoring the stuff that's just going on elsewhere, because I feel like so much stuff is set up just to distract you. And if you wanted to, you could be like, it's Valentine's Day, I need to do something for that. It's bank holiday, I need to do something for that. It's a Saturday, I can't possibly work today. It's Friday night, who works on Friday night? You could just play this normal person record on repeat in your head and it wouldn't get you anywhere because you'd end up doing exactly the same stuff. So I have no problem with anyone taking the weekend off, but just make it intentional. Don't just do it because it's a weekend, because it's like, what even is a weekend? So in my head, I call it the perfect repeatable day. The idea that you have your dream day that you could live on repeat if you wanted to and if you had to. And if the idea of that fills you with dread as a kind of Groundhog Day type thing, then it's not your dream day. It's not your perfect repeatable day. And I don't live it every single day, but I would happily live it every single day. And it's my default. And also why it's useful is because I travel around with my husband and we also train together. And so if every single day we were like, hey, what time do you want to go to the gym? I don't know. What time do you want to go? Or like, what time do you want to eat? Or what are you doing right now? It'd be like, it's just a waste of life even having those conversations. So we just have a default that we both know, and we have quite separate schedules in the day, but we kind of know what the other one is doing. We know what we're doing. And so we don't just need to waste time talking about admin. We can talk about actually important stuff or stuff that's fun to talk about.
Yeah. Why do you think so many people have these kind of dreams, goals, aspirations, and they put them off? They think, when I retire, I will spend every day doing these 2-3 things that I really enjoy. Or once a year, I will go on a nice holiday and enjoy the culture in a different country. Why don't people kind of unlock their dream life and their dream day
It's
now?
just normal. you think if you went through the British education system or any country's education system, there is a certain path that is expected of you. And for probably both of us, it was you do your exams, you go to university, you don't really question if you're going to go to university or not, you just go. And then after that, I remember, even though I did a business management degree, we weren't all going into managing businesses. We were all applying for graduate schemes, and it was like, which graduate scheme can we get? And then it was, which job at a consultancy can we get? And it's just, you go the normal path. And if you're choosing something different, you have to find out a way of doing it for your own. There's not like a program for you, probably not. Some places do have that stuff, but you probably have to do it on your own. And we're just not taught to think for ourselves at all. We're taught to pass exams to a mark scheme and do the bare minimum to do that, and then go and join a job and do the bare minimum to not get fired. And then that's just how we think. So it has to be something. And if I think friends who have paved their own way a little bit more, maybe started their own business and they live their dream life, one thing they've had is a role model. So it might be a parent who's just encouraged them to think differently, or maybe they had some kind of, maybe some kind of traumatic experience, or maybe some kind of experience that just made them go, hang on, something's got to change here, and then they've been more intentional about it. But I think often if you don't have that thing, you just will go along with what everyone else is doing.
And I guess it's a process as well of like bit by bit taking back control or thinking for yourself. Are there any like questions that you ask or ways that you help yourself think like this?
Yeah, I do a lot of journaling, and I guess I think for every answer you're looking for, there is a question that retrieves it. And some of the big questions I love asking myself and journaling on are, what do I know for sure? Because that gets away from all the emotion, all the speculative stuff. And it's just like, what is my truth? And then I love, what would this look like if it was easy? So that you can just think, it doesn't have to be hard. We think that we have to struggle through, and we think, oh, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, but it's just not true. You can live your dream life, and you can use all your own ace cards in getting to that place. And then, what am I afraid of is a really good question, because there's something, and people think they're afraid of failure, but so many people are actually scared of success. And so it's calling bullshit on yourself again and saying, what am I just believing on repeat, which is controlling my thoughts, my words, my actions, and is ultimately dictating this life that I'm just living on autopilot without being intentional about it.
That's a big question, isn't it, as well? Because a lot of the time someone's got something quite good, or they feel like it's good, and they feel like there could be a brighter future or something that could be potentially better, but you risk giving up what you've currently got.
Yeah.
And equally, as you say, you might actually just be afraid of success. I've heard you say something before, jump and the net will appear.
Yeah.
Is that like how you think about
that? I think if you're thinking about an alternative reality, that probably means that your current reality is not a 10 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
And I only want to live 10 out of 10. I want to wake up every day and just be so pumped for that day I'm about to live every single day. So if you're waking up to a day of 6s and 7s, there are 10s out there that aren't finding you because the space is taken. So I had the most in between businesses, because I just sold my agency. I knew that I wanted to do something next, but I knew that I didn't just want to go into any old idea, because I'm quite once I've got a goal, I'll just go and go and go. And I did not want to go and go and go on the wrong thing. So it was about creating the space, not buying domain names, whatever it was to clear the way for the right thing to appear was the thing that was right for me, and the thing that is often right for anyone who's thinking, how do I swap this out? Like, you'd be better off stopping all the stuff that you don't want to do and just being like, I'm okay with the space. I'm fine to just sit in the stillness, and the right stuff will find me when I just start experimenting and seeing what's possible.
How do you think about achieving your goals once you have found what you're excited about and what you really want to do next? I
think that it's actually really boring. I think achieving your goals is really boring, because I think the hardest thing is choosing what they're going to be, and making sure that they're things that do actually excite you and not things that are just on your list that you don't care about. Every time I speak to someone about this, they always have learning Spanish as one of their goals.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to learn Spanish, but no one actually wants to learn Spanish. It's like, if you really wanted to go learn Spanish, you would go to Spain, You would book courses, you would get tutors, you would get books, you would meet Spanish people, you would be intentional about this. Like, you don't want this, you're not taking action towards it. Take it off your goal list. So I wonder if the first thing to do is just go through your goal list and think, what do I really care about? If I died without learning Spanish, would it really matter? And if the answer to that is no, it wouldn't, then it shouldn't be on the list. And then I think the part that's really boring is just the fact that you need to keep going with whatever you're doing for a very, very long time. And I think that that's the point where you need to fall in love with the process and not the goal. Because the goal might never happen, but it needs to be, you kind of need to be okay with the goal never coming true, because you will have really enjoyed yourself making the goal come true. It's almost like just the effort is the reward. So I kind of feel like that about my normal days. If I never hit any of my future goals ever, but I lived the life I'm living now, trying to achieve them, that would be all right.
And is your normal life challenging? Like, is it hard? One thing when I hear this, I'm like, it all sounds amazing, but say you are on a path and it's hard, right? And you had to have a tough day, or you have a shitty meeting.
Yep.
And you mark it 4 out of 10, did not enjoy.
Yep.
Is that just part of the process?
Yeah.
And you're still on the right track and you should keep going? Or is that a sign of, actually, I'm not having my dream day anymore, and therefore I need to course correct, drop everything and start again?
Yeah, nice. Good question. Yes, it's hard. Of course it's hard. But a few things are that, firstly, I had this especially when I was running my agency. I was constantly putting out fires, because you'll know with an agency, clients come, they go, team members, sometimes they're great, sometimes they're not so great, all that happens. But my goal was just that I was putting out bigger fires. I don't want to put out the same fire again. And I quite enjoy putting out the fire, studying it, learning how I put out the fire, telling someone else how to put out the fire, and then they put it out the next time. And then that's a form of progress that keeps the momentum going, that keeps me excited about it. I think if you were putting out the same fires on repeat, no, that would be terrible. And then you have to find some way of progressing yourself in your own business, because you probably have a plan for your team. Everyone in your team, they've got their progression plan. They know what they do to hit the next level, but where's yours? And you need to be intentional about it yourself in order for you to keep going through the hard times. And then the other thing I really like doing is just finding the edge of my comfort zone and then studying it. I have this the most on echo bike intervals, like assault bike intervals, because you get to that dark place where you're like, oh, here I am, here's my comfort zone. And then you can almost separate from you and study it, and then think, okay, so I'm really tired right now. So what's my brain telling me? Oh, interesting. And you can become an observer of your life rather than the person who's living your life. And then you then get better. So I'm really excited and motivated by the idea that my comfort zone right now is like this, but in the future, all the stuff that I think is outside it is going to be inside it, and that keeps on going until eventually nothing can touch you. And then you reach new, I don't know where you get to, Oprah levels, the levels where the people that you really look up to are just hanging out naturally.
Yeah. That's a super nice way of framing it, actually. It's just thinking like, are the challenges getting bigger and bigger?
Yeah. Versus
are they just the same challenges, and you're coming up against them and you think you fixed them, or you should have fixed them by now, they're still coming. But if they're bigger and better every time, then that's a sign of progress in of itself.
I think if you're also learning stuff and then you're teaching other people how to overcome those challenges, that's a really rewarding part. And so much of the stuff I create is all because I've done something cool and now I want to teach other people how to do that cool thing. But I'm not even really thinking of it like teaching someone else how to do it. I'm thinking about it as giving my former self guidance. So it's like, what's the book that Jodie 3 years ago wished she'd have read to take her to the next stage? So then do that. Because then you find that you create things where other people feel like you're inside their head. And then you get those feedback. You get people just send me presents all the time because they're like, you helped me so much with this thing. I want to treat you to like something. And then I get things in my inbox from people who are like, this has been so valuable to me that I need to like thank you for it. And then that keeps you going again. And that keeps you almost feel like you're the person. Like in the jungle, clearing the path away, and then creating the map so that other people can follow it. And if you're that way inclined, then it's so rewarding. You almost I never want to stop that.
You've just reminded me of something else you've talked about in the past, which is, I think, is it Elon Musk's ex-wife? She says something about entrepreneurship and like developing a bulletproof mindset.
Yep. Justine Musk said something. It was in a Quora forum. It was in a thread there. And someone had talked about what does it really take to be like Elon Musk or Bill Gates or whoever else. And she said, first she said, extreme people get extreme results, which is one of my rules for life that's on my website that I think about a lot. And then she said, you have to get good at dealing with a level of stress that would break most people, because that's what she saw with Elon the whole time. Because when he's doing all the stuff he's doing, running 5 or 6 multi-billion-dollar companies and being the richest guy in the world and going to space and everything else, he's not thinking, oh, this is a really tough day at work. He's thinking, how do I play this game differently? And so I guess she's observed that. She followed me on Instagram, by the way.
That's cool. That's very cool.
She followed me on Instagram, I guess, because that clip got shared quite a few times. And it's just a really nice way of thinking about it. But the word stress is so interesting, because I think the word stress gets used in such an unhelpful context. But I learned that the etymology of the word stress is that it comes from 2 origins. And one of them is the word distress, and one of them is the word eustress, like eustress.
Mm-hmm.
And so distress is like not ultimately a good thing, because it's like if something's distressing, it's not good. But eustress means that excited stress, like that kind of, I've got butterflies in my stomach, I'm feeling like, yes, this is my jam, I'm going in this direction. And so whenever we hear stress, we think distress, but really whenever we hear stress, we should think eustress, because that's the drive and that's the stuff that we need to get us through the ups and downs of entrepreneurship that can actually all happen in the same day.
You talked about personal success systems. What is a personal success system, and how can I unlock mine?
Can we talk about yours?
Yeah.
So everyone has a personal success system. They just might not know it. And how to find yours is to look back at everything that you have achieved that you are especially proud of and dissect it and think, what were the exact steps that I took to help me get there? Different people have got such different steps in there. A friend I talked to this about, he realized that every time he wanted to solve some challenge, he threw a party and he invited his cleverest friends, and then he raised the challenge to all of them, and then they helped him. So therefore he had all his smartest friends working on his project. He had a party that he enjoyed, and he also had accountability to them. And then that was what led to some of his biggest breakthroughs and his biggest achievements. Another, Chris, my new podcast co-host, he has his personal success system always starting by someone who he trusts saying to him, oh, you should do this. And him being like, no, that's a terrible idea. But that's always the thing that leads to his biggest successes. So mine, I discovered after I sold my agency, and then I realized that the way I wrote my book and got a book publisher followed the exact same process. And it was set the intention. It was it was set the intention. It was talk to someone who's done it. Not to get there step by step, but to get their belief system. So to understand the beliefs that I would need to have in my head to make this possible. And then it was split that task, that thing that I want to do, down into something I can spend 90 minutes a day on. And then it was visualize it. So before I sold my agency, I wrote myself a pretend check with the amount I wanted to sell for, the date I wanted to sell. I wrote for one social media agency with no earn out to the perfect buyer, and I signed it the perfect buyer. And so it's visualize it and imagine it coming true almost in your whole body. Like when I wanted a publisher, I was like, I visualized this email coming through to say, yes, you've got the deal and here's your contract. And it was like, so cool. I felt it. And then after that, in the personal success system, it's just keep going. And that's the boring bit. That's like I don't know how long this is going to take. Yeah, I've written the date on my pretend check, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen by that point. I have to be happy with it taking a long, long time and then just keep going. And that's the system I followed for everything. So now I feel a bit like the future is kind of wrapped up, because what I want to do is just a case of putting it into my personal success system. What's yours?
It's a very good question. I need to think about it. I definitely think cold email, like one cold email.
Okay.
I think that's been an inflection point for me several times.
Yeah, nice.
So like the perfectly crafted one cold email, that's got me like, you know, my first client, my first podcast guest, bunch of other things in my life. One good cold email.
Okay.
All starts there. I feel like that, and I think meeting people, having conversations. That's super powerful for me.
Yeah. There'll be a system. There'll be like a 6-step process. I'll send you. I've got some ChatGPT prompts to come up with how your personal success system could go. But then if cold email's in it, and if meeting people's in it, then I would use it. Just think about your goals that you've got right now, and then think, how can I use cold email more? Or how can I meet more people around this? And how can I get there faster? Because this just is your system.
But yeah, once you know, you can just do more of it.
Yeah, exactly.
A really important part of everything you've talked about is addition versus subtraction. How do you think about that?
There is a bias called addition bias.
Yeah.
So you know what it's involving. And yeah, it does mean that whenever something feels a bit out of kilter, or we feel a little bit like not quite ourselves, or a bit like something needs to change, we just look to what we can add. And the worst example I heard of this was a friend who had 7 VAs, because every one that was full, he just got another one. And he never thought, hang on, why do I need 7 VAs? What are they doing? Can I subtract something? It was like, no, we need to do more. And we're probably all guilty of our own 7 VA situation in something. We had commitments, we had obligations, we had possessions, we buy things, but really it's just not the way is to subtract. So I guess partly I think this can come naturally if you're nomadic, or if you live out your suitcase, because I have one suitcase that I travel around with. There are constraints because there's weight limits. I try not to go over the weight limits on airlines because I want to have that constraint of that 23 kilos or whatever it is.
Yeah.
So something always has to be subtracted before it gets added back in. But it's the same with your schedule. I think people kind of act like they're going to live forever, and therefore they're just like, yeah, sure, I'll help you move house. It's like, no, you can get a removal van and then we can go for dinner instead. Or it's like, yeah, sure, I'll go and pick up that parcel. It's like, get someone else to pick up your parcel and then you can just chill out instead. And so I think that subtraction first, before you add anything in, helps you make the trade-offs that then mean that you can spend your time in the best way and the happiest way that fits in with who you actually want to be, instead of just running errands. It's normally errands.
If you're enjoying this conversation with Jodie, I'm going to put all the frameworks that she talked about in my next newsletter. You can get it at the link in the description. Well, I mean, you mentioned as well, you don't cook, right? So how do you do that? You do have like meal prep where you just eat out? What's the deal?
So
we have a private chef.
I have a travel spreadsheet, which is everywhere that me and my husband are going to go. It says on it when the trip's booked, it says what gym we've joined, and then friends from all over just come and visit because they just log onto the spreadsheet and then they come and book their flights, and sometimes it's a surprise. So my VA is also on that. So when she sees a new city arriving there, she does the meal prep research for me. Cool. And then there's another spreadsheet, everything's a spreadsheet. She has another spreadsheet that's just meal prep, and it's each tab is a different city. She researches them. She'll send me, she'll put them in order of which ones she thinks are the best.
Yeah.
And then she will either order them or I'll order them, but that's just done. And then it means that there's no cooking involved. Yeah.
But again, it's just like you get that time back, right? You don't have to worry about going to the supermarket, getting some food, cooking it, all of that.
Yeah.
Palaver.
And also all the time that you put into training a VA just comes back to you again and again. So I think it would be easy to say, okay, this is the process, VA does it, and then it's not quite right, and you get back in and you fix it. But I don't want to get back in and fix it. I want to get back in and fix the process, because then the next time the process happens, it's like, this is right. And the first time she started helping us plan our lives, she was planning restaurants and things, because my husband and I went traveling around New Zealand for 5 months a couple of years ago. And she planned out the whole trip, Airbnbs, driving distances between things, where we got our hire car from. And she also put restaurants in, but she loves Italian restaurants and I don't really love Italian restaurants. So all her suggestions are Italian restaurants. And I'm like, maybe not. So then rather than just be like, oh, that wasn't right, I'll just go do it myself, it was, no, hang on, this is actually what I really like to eat. And this is the kind of restaurant I look for. And this is the this is the thing to look for on the Google rating, and this is the kind of thing to look for on the menu. And it's not about not having variety. It's just about having a certain standard that you uphold, that you then never have to make too many decisions about because someone else is making those decisions for you. I just love that.
In terms of getting your time back, is having a VA probably like one of the number one things to do?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think there's always a use for a VA. You just have to be creative. I really like, well, I actually tell my VA does this. I'm like, what else can you do? And I kind of get her to quiz me on my life and what I'm doing so that she can suggest ways that she can get more involved, because I want her to be kind of studying it to then add new stuff in. So I love that kind of ideas of what your VA can do. So
what would she do for you? Which does
meal prep, things like if you're flying into an airport, you don't want to hang out and get an Uber, someone should be there with a sign with your name on it to pick you up and put you in the car. Mm-hmm. And that will always be worth it, no matter how much more it costs than the Uber or the transfer or whatever. Yeah. And then things like filling out forms. Yeah. I don't want to fill out a form. Someone once described it as you get this condition called form philotinitis when you fill out a form. And I'm like, I don't want form philotinitis. Yeah. So get her to do that. Logging into stuff, doing accounts, stuff that's...
Emails? Do you do emails?
No, but I have a really good email system where cold emails that I get that aren't good just get completely screened out. Delete, so they're never... So I don't get on the loops. Yeah. And I get a lot of emails because people are always pitching me Forbes stuff. And I say, don't pitch me. This is how you can get in my column. This is how I can write about you, but don't send me cold emails. And so anyone that does, I'm just like, nope. And then they go. So that helps with time saving quite a bit. So I don't need my VA in my emails, but if I did, then I would. And then she also, so I have Jodie AI, because through CoachVox, we coaches create the AI version of them, and I have the AI version of me, and she trains Jodie AI. So when I have YouTube videos out and when I do podcast interviews, she'll put the transcripts there so that my AI is always up to date. And there's other random work stuff, but it's almost, I think the way you do this from scratch is look at your calendar, look at your diary, look at the stuff you're spending your time on. If you don't record that right now, just time track what you do each day, probably to the 10-minute increment. What did I spend the last 10 minutes doing? And then if you get a really good VA, you could show them that list, and then you could say, how can you help me with this? And then they will be proactive at coming up with the things that they could do. And is the same true of your team? I think I've heard you talk about before, saying I'm only online on Slack between this 30 minutes at 5 p.m. each day. Yeah. I think quite a lot about the psychological safety I create for my team, because I'm a standard visionary founder who just can be all over the place. And I'm always aware that I don't want to put my crazy onto them. So I try as much as possible to not give people urgency. And that often involves giving them a lot of advance warning when I'm going to be online and when I'm not going to be online. So things like this, when we're booked for a couple of hours, I'd be like, I'm offline this afternoon, or just like I'm out for this day. And I'd try and tell them about that in advance. But then really, I don't want a team that need me. Mm-hmm. So I don't have any regular meetings booked in at all with anyone, because the goal is we shouldn't need meetings, because there should be stuff that just happens on repeat. And the default is that it works. And I pretty much learned that running an agency as a lifestyle business. It was, I want the default to be that we make money, the business grows, everything works, people know how to solve problems and put out fires. And the only stuff that reaches me is the stuff where someone's like, I've got this thing, I've thought about it, I've got these 3 options for what I could do, but I just want your opinion on which one I should do. Like, that's the conversation I want to have, not the, oh, what do you think about this? Or, because it's like, you know this, you know our vision, you know what we're doing, you know our ethos. I would rather give someone more trust to get it wrong and then have the conversation after than have a smaller conversation before that then takes us all out of flow. Yeah, because at that time you were what, traveling for 1 month and then completely offline for that time, or? So sometimes because of the time zone. 1 month every 3 months, was it? 1 month every 3 months, yeah. So from about year 3 of having my agency to year 8 when COVID hit, I was traveling for 1 month in every 3, going to different places. If I was in Australia, it was a 10 or 11 hour time difference from the UK. So there's very little you can do in normal working hours. So then there had to be systems in place to make it work. But the time it was tested the most was in 2015. I was in Toronto and I woke up to about 6 missed calls from my general manager, called her back and said, hey, everything all right? She said, no, not really. The office has been broken into. All our Macs have been stolen. And yeah, just letting you know. And I was like, oh, okay. So what do you need me to do? Like, do you need me to do anything? She's like, no, it's good. I've called the police. I spoke to the insurance company. I've gone to the Apple store to replace everything. And the landlord is fixing the door. So you're good. I was like, oh, okay. And I just got on with my day. And it should have been such a stressful experience. And it should have been the worst, most admin riddled day ever. But it was just, I just went to a coffee shop and carried on with my normal day because she sorted it all out. So you can give people enough processes and you can hire people and train them to be useful and allow them to be useful, and then just get out their way, and they will surprise you.
Was one of the things you did there, you just had this like Google sheet which just had every single possible process or question in it?
Yeah.
And then like a document?
Yeah. So the biggest hurdle anyone would face if they were going away for a long period of time and they had a team in a physical location, it probably would be different with a remote team because you can just be wherever. But the thing you would feel, or I felt, was this sense of guilt at leaving people. And so when I had that sense of guilt at leaving people, I spoke to my core team members and said, what are you worried about here? Because they were a bit like, oh, you're going away, what's going to happen? And so they would say, okay, well, I'm worried about this thing. And I wrote it down. Okay, what else? Worried about this thing. Kept going with this list until there's about 20 things on there. And then together we talked through, if this happened, what would we do next? So then we had this list of all of these things that we would do. And then probably the office getting broken into was actually one of them. And then there you go. They just followed the process. The only thing we didn't have a process for was March 2020.
Oh yeah.
Because no one had an SOP for that. So we had 1 week where we lost 25% of our clients in one go.
Shit.
And there's someone needs to tell me about that.
Yeah.
So that was the moment where I got way back involved. It stopped being a lifestyle business. It started being something that really needed saving. But that was the process that then led to turning it into something that was a lot bigger and then making the decision to sell it. So it worked out in the end as well.
Yeah, which brings us nicely on to the different games that you can play. How do you think about the kind of game that you're playing right now and the different other games that you can play?
So I think there are 4 games that you can play in business, and they are the lifestyle game, the performance game, the artist game, and the build to sell game. The lifestyle game means that everything revolves around you and your lifestyle and how you spend your time. You probably don't care so much about building a big business. You care about building a business that supports you living your best life, which I was definitely in for about 5 glorious years of having that agency. It was just train, travel, see the world, make my business run without me as far as possible. The performance game is where you're just trying to build a business to make as much money or as much impact as possible. You probably care less about your lifestyle while that's going on. I think that one can be taken too far. I think you'll see people completely ignoring their health, completely ignoring their life because they're just like, no, business. But I think if lots of people played it really intentional, they would probably find more sustainable ways of not completely deteriorating in every other area while they were still building their performance business. Then there's the build to sell game. You might not tell people you're playing this game, but you might know in the back of your mind, I'm building this business, and it's almost like a sprint instead of a marathon. I'm doing this, I'm performing in my business. I don't really mind about lifestyle stuff taking a back seat because I've got this goal in mind and that's what I'm going to hit. And then there's the artist game. And I think the artist game is more interesting right now, just with the personal brand stuff that we're seeing with almost everyone building their personal brand. And the artist game is where you're the artist in your business. You're the person at the center of it. The whole business exists so that you can do your art. You can use your superpowers. You can show up on stage. You can create. And the goal is that you don't do anything other than make your art. So everything exists around you to take the friction away. So other people are are booking the podcast studio, other people are writing the script for the introduction, other people are doing all the stuff so that you can show up, sit in your chair and ask the questions because that's your superpower, for example. That's the artist game. So the mistake is straddling strategies. The mistake is not knowing which game you're playing, because they can all work, but they can't really all work alongside each other. And I think I've had this before where I know I'm playing the lifestyle game, but then I hang out with people who are playing the performance game. And then I'm like, oh, do I want to get VC funding, or do I want to do this? And then I'm like, but do I want to compromise training twice a day, or do I want to compromise this? And then you could have this internal argument in your head, which then would lead you to make the wrong decisions and then not be happy because you're following someone else's version of success. So it's know your game, and then it's play your game, and just be really intentional.
What game are you playing right now?
The performance game, 100%
Okay.
the performance game. Yeah, for sure. But I'm very clear that I'm playing the performance game, and I'm trying to do it in this new way, because I think I really like the lifestyle game, but I feel like me and my team and the technology that we've built are capable of more. And especially now with how much I'm using AI, I think that it's very possible to do the performance game and still have an amazing lifestyle, because there's technology now that wasn't accessible when I had my agency. So it's very fun swapping an agency for a software product and using AI and lots of stuff and being able to create more, because of the potential there, I feel means that I could play both of those games at the same time, but in a whole new way.
In terms of things that we haven't covered, if someone's listening to this and they're really liking it, they're enjoying it, they're excited about unlocking their full potential and their dream life, what are the other areas that we haven't covered that are important to think about?
The people who are around you make a huge difference to everything that you do. And so I would encourage anyone to audit their life of the people who are in it. And I think that can sound like a really harsh thing.
Yeah.
And often people really are scared of that, because there's this idea that, oh, they're my friends from school and we had a really nice time together and I like hanging out with them. But it's like, are they matching your life now? Do you want what they want? Do they want what you want? Are you relevant enough to each other now that they belong in your life every week or how often you see them? Because I think a real trap is falling into hanging out with people based on nostalgia, because then you meet up, you rehash old stories, you talk about the past. It's all about just what happened once, and you're not progressing. Every time you have that story, you're just reliving a past version of yourself, and you're not allowing the future you to come out. So an exercise I did recently with a friend and also with my VA, which is quite interesting as well, is the idea of coming up with the next version of you. So if right now I'm Jodie 2.0, but I want to describe Jodie 3.0, what do I do now? And what does she do in the future? And then what's in the gap? And so when I did this with my VA, one of my Jodie 2.0 things was Jodie 2.0 does stuff her VA could do. And Jodie 3.0 was does nothing her VA could do. So then Kimberly 2.0 is doesn't know everything her clients need her for. Kimberly 3.0 is knows absolutely everything her clients need her for. So you're kind of then upgrading with the people around you. And I feel like the most valuable, rewarding relationships are ones where you're growing with them and you're figuring out your next potential together. And if someone's not really bothered about doing that, then you've got to question how much that's capping your growth at the same time. Yeah. So I think intentional growth involves picking who you're going to take with you for the journey, and then being okay to let people go. And it's not a hostile thing. You don't need to say to them, hey, I'm breaking up with you. Yeah. It's just that you kind of just get distance and you don't respond, and you're okay to just kind of let them go on their own way as you yours. And it's not sad, it's not anything. It just is. Some people are with you for seasons, some people are with you forever, and that's okay. If you're enjoying this podcast and you want to create one of your own, check out my agency, 7X Content. My team produced this show and a bunch of others. You can check them out at 7xcontent.com. Is another part of that forging new relationships? How do you find more of those people who are in line with your goals? What's useful there? For me, it's communities. I really enjoy joining communities based on mutual interests that are mutual interests I actually really care about. So you could join a community for anything, but it has to be something that matters. So there was a friend who was setting up a kind of child-free community, people who've decided not to have children, which is interesting, but I don't think it's enough of the thing that ties you together. It's like, what are you going to do? Just all meet up and talk about how you don't have kids? It's not. It has to be something that's something you are doing rather than just an absence of something.
Yeah.
So stuff around if you're into a specific sport, if you're into growing your business, if you're into growing a lifestyle business, because each of those individual games could have its own community. And then I think the most incredible relationships and friendships I've got now are ones where your interests are stacked. So I'm in a community for location independent entrepreneurs. So we've got the whole travel thing, we've got the whole business thing. But then when I meet someone in there who also trains, I'm like, we are going to be friends, because you've got all that stuff in common. And then they'll think about it in a slightly different way because they'll have a different upbringing and they'll have a different mindset. And then you can just learn so much from that person, and you don't have to start from scratch, because you don't always want to have to explain who you are from scratch. You want people who get at least some of it.
Yeah. Do you then engineer ways to keep meeting up with them?
Yeah, all the time. Well, having a travel spreadsheet of my own is really good. Some friends have got their own travel spreadsheet, and then lots of the communities I'm part of will have events just all over the world, and I just go to as many of those as possible. And because I'm very extroverted as well, and I really like meeting up with people, so I'll book those in. And then I also book my own events. So we went to one, you came to one last week. So the idea is that people want you to be the one to set stuff up. So all you need is an event space or just a bar or something where ideally people don't sit down. It's one where you kind of stand up and you hang around tables, because once you're sat down, you're kind of, there's this person, there's that person. It's hard to like mingle. But if you find a place where you can just stand up, organize like a 3-hour period where you just meet up there and then get the best people you know there, and the best people you know will come. Like I never chase anyone to come to those. It's like if you can't make it, that's totally fine. And then just introduce people is my favorite thing to do. Introduce the cool people I know to the other cool people I know. And then it kind of takes the pressure off you being everywhere on that evening. It takes the pressure off you having to talk to everyone, because someone's first encounter is probably, oh, how do you know Jodie? And so you're in all the conversations anyway. So being at the center of those is a really cool way to live, I think. And then just a personal mantra is just say hi first. So if I'm in the gym, if I'm in the like anywhere, I will just say hi to people, and I practice saying hi to people so that I'm not scared of it at all. It doesn't really work in London because not everyone talks to each other. Yeah. You can't just say hi to everyone on the tube. So you have to kind of, you almost feel like you have to respect the rules of the place you are. But saying hi first has made me best friends, new clients, new opportunities. And then no one ever remembers who said hi first, but everyone is really glad that you did. So just do it.
So I think that's one of your rules for life, isn't it? Always saying hi first.
Yep.
Do you have some others?
First. Yeah, for sure. So we've got extreme people get extreme results that I borrowed from Justine Musk, my Insta bestie. And then, say hi first is kind of a rule, but it's within the rule of make people feel good. Because saying hi first does make people feel good, because people want to feel seen, and then you get to know them, and then everyone wins. So that's definitely one of them. Another one is just go where the money is. And maybe that's because I'm playing the performance game, and because I'm surrounded by a lot of location independent entrepreneurs. Lots of them choose to live in places where it's not the place where everything happens. And so it's a constant reminder of myself to just go and hang out where other ambitious entrepreneurs are hanging out. Another one of my rules is just win the mental game. Everything is a mental game. I think when you're running your own business, just getting through the day can be a mental game, because everything feels like it's coming at you the whole time. I think that relationships can be a mental game, because you're running through these patterns and these habits of how you believe you should act in any different situation, and that's just based on your past and maybe not your future. So I feel like being really intentional about having a really good relationship, and I especially think about it with Ben, with my husband, because we live together, we work together, we travel together, and so it's like how do I make that the best experience as well? I have the propensity to be a nightmare, and I don't want to be a nightmare. So it's like, how do I do this intentionally as well? And that involves winning the mental game. And then finally, play your ace cards. I think about this the whole time. I actually got an ace card ring.
That's dope. Yeah.
I got it made from a jeweler in Cape Town, made it for me. So the idea is that you have ace cards. Everyone has ace cards. They have these things, these characteristics, these things that are uniquely them, that it's so easy to play down because of not wanting to stand out, or just because of falling into normal traps. And I just never want to do that. I want to take the amazing things that I've either been gifted or I've worked on and just play them to their maximum potential. I don't know if this is partly a British thing, but I know that in some cultures and countries, it's almost a kind of the setup is to play stuff down and to be really humble and to not kind of show off and to not try and be different. But we have to override that if we want to progress or live our dream lives. And so that might involve, if you're good on camera, get on camera. If you're good at writing, write more. If people always say you're intense, like, use that intensity. If you can't stop with putting your attention to detail hat on when you're looking at something, like, do something that involves that. It's like, go towards the weird stuff that you have going on. And an example of this is that I used to work in a pizza restaurant with a guy called Kieran, and he always used to tell me that my arms were too big. And he'd be like, oh, they're so big. Do you work out? Like, what's going on? And we worked in a pizza restaurant, and I could carry 3 pizzas in one hand. And so maybe I was using them, and maybe they were like getting bigger, but Kieran really made me know that they weren't good, that they were not attractive, and girls should not have arms as big as this. But then not too long after, I found out that my dad's nickname at college was Arms. And people used to say to him, like, oh my God, like, your arms are really big. And he'd be like, yeah, they are. And then one time when he had a girlfriend, his people would say to his girlfriend, like, oh my God, I can't believe you're going out with arms. And it was this big thing, like, arms.
Yeah.
And so when I found that out, I was like, so he owned that. I should own that. And then I started bench pressing. And then I realized that big arms equals big bench press, and then got better at that. And now that's actually a thing that I do that is very much part of my life. And it wouldn't have been like that if I didn't figure out how to reframe an insult. And everyone listening has probably been insulted in some way. They've been called something. Someone said, oh, you're different because of this reason. And they might have tried to, like I did, like, cover it up, play it down, not have that thing, like, not make it a thing that makes you different. And the answer is probably go more towards it. Do, like, make your arms bigger. And that's how to find your ace cards and then play them. And then if you couple ace cards with your personal success system, you create something that is only you and is uniquely you, and will also feel very fun to live as a life and do as work, and will probably feel very easy and not like a struggle.
It reminds me as well, we've got a mutual friend, Rob Dix, who runs a property content empire.
Yes.
And I think he once told me that he had taken that ridiculous, like, traditional business advice to kind of remove yourself from everything and focus on, being like the CEO or the operator. And so he'd, like, actually removed himself from, I think it was writing the newsletter or something like that.
Yeah.
So the one thing that he was, like, absolutely genius at and amazing at, and he's now a published Sunday Times bestselling author. Yeah. He removed himself from that very thing that had, like, been so powerful in creating the business. So I think sometimes as well, it's you need to remind yourself, like, what are you really good at? How did you get here? And make sure you're not kind of removing yourself from those ace cards, like you say. Yeah.
Well, Rob's a really good example of why it's so important to choose what game you're playing.
Yeah.
And why it's so important that anytime you ask anyone for advice, you also tell them what game you're playing. So Rob is playing the artist game.
Yes.
But Rob was speaking to someone asking for advice who assumed he was playing the performance game. So they're giving him advice to grow the biggest business possible. And he essentially ended up as the CEO. He was managing people. He was removing himself from anything. Instead of creating his own content, he had a content agency. He did all that stuff that he was meant to do, which probably would have been the right decision if he was building a performance business. But then he ended up hating his life. And so now that he's acknowledged that he's playing the artist game, Rob also has an AI. He has Ask Rob and Rob AI that he has with his business partner, where you can get AI coaching based on the podcast topics.
Yeah.
But when he acknowledged he was playing the artist game, he gave himself a simple list of 4 things that he had to do every single week. And that was record a podcast episode, write my Sunday Times column, write a newsletter, and do a blog.
Yeah, must be.
I think was the final one. 4 things. And then sometimes he gets them all done by 1 p.m. on Monday, and then he can play the rest of the week, but he can play at the artist game, and then he can outproduce. And he is hilarious because he is a Sunday Times bestselling author, I think maybe 3 times, twice with the same book when it got released in paperback as well as hardback. And we went to the same event not that long ago. I was with him, we were meeting someone new, and they said to him, "Hey Rob, what do you do?" And he just mumbled, "I work in property."
Yeah.
And I was like, no, you are not getting away with this. So then I reeled off all of his accolades and all the stuff he'd done, at which point he's turning redder and redder and redder. But then the other person's like, "Oh, cool." And then they have a conversation based on the Rob that is like Rob 2.0, the most amazing version of him, rather than the one that he has only been humble enough to introduce.
Yeah, amazing guy.
And I guess part of the message of that is that you have to hype your friends because they might not hype themselves.
Yes.
And you definitely have to do that with someone when they are very humble, and especially when you know, maybe that's part of the making people feel good thing. I want to be my best friend's biggest cheerleaders so that I can be the voice in their head when they're having that, "Oh, I can't get through the day" type feeling. It's like, no, you can. Because all anyone really needs is reminding that they can do it all the time. I feel like if I had a kind of product line, it would be like a little teddy bear of me where someone could just like press its belly and it would be like, "You can do it. Keep going." Maybe I'll make one.
You should 100% do that.
Do you want one?
I want one. Yeah. I'll get one. Yeah, that'd be great. You can give them out everywhere you go.
Yep. Okay, you're the first person on the wait list. I'll do it.
One thing I've heard you've mentioned a couple of times is like personality tests, or that you're a Myers-Briggs or like a ENTJ.
Yeah.
What is that? And should I get one done?
Should you get one done? Yeah. So I quite like personality tests. I like just tests where you have to be very self-aware and you have to answer a set of questions and then you find out stuff about yourself. And there's Myers-Briggs, there's the Ocean Profile, there's all different types of ones that exist. But I would say take all of them, because the more you know about how you naturally operate, the more you can realize when you are just doing your default and when you want to change it, and the more that you can help other people work better with you. So in my team at Coach Fox, we've all taken the Myers-Briggs test, we've all taken various other ones, and we've all written our own user manual for how we work and how we like to be worked with. And it's amazing. So Joanna in my team, she's our general manager, she knows her Myers-Briggs. She talked about how she prefers to communicate, how she likes to do tasks, if I'm going to get the best out of her, what I should do. And I study it. I read it so much because I want to work with people based on how they want to live their dream work life, really. So personality tests can tell you so much about each other. And then also it's quite funny for memes. So if you did your Myers-Briggs and you found out you were an ENTJ, and then your partner is an INTJ, which mine is, you look up ENTJ, INTJ memes, and they are so good. They get it exactly right. And then that's quite funny, because then the more you realize like, oh, we naturally do this well together, or we naturally don't do this together, you can just improve all the time. And if there's something about your personality types that means that you struggle doing certain things, then you can approach that as well. And it means that it's not me versus you. It's like me plus you versus the test or versus the problem.
Yeah.
And I think anything that you can do that means that you can open up the conversation to have it is a really good thing.
Yes. You set yourself up for success, and you know that when you're in a certain situation that it's not going to go down well because you both got these personalities that respond in this way to that type of thing.
Yeah. And then so a very practical thing is that if I'm an ENTJ, and E means extrovert, N means intuition, like very kind of intuitive, like visionary type, and then T means thinking as opposed to feeling, so it's like the logical side. J means like judging or planning, as opposed to perceiving. So I'm very like spreadsheet orientated.
Mm-hmm.
And so my husband is an INTJ. So it's all the same except introvert instead of extrovert.
Oh.
So if we book a conference and we both go together, after 3 days, I'm like, this is amazing. I love everyone. I've got so many ideas. I can't wait to do this again. I can just keep going. And he's like, oh, I don't want to talk to anyone for a week. Just everyone leave me alone.
Yeah.
But then if we know that, it means that we can book stuff in where he's just got loads of alone time and I go to more social things than he does. And it just gives you a framework to work on that mean that you can both just have your best time. And there's no pressure on, I'm trying to go, come on, come to this thing with me. And he's like, come on, stay in with me. It's like, no, we can just do our own thing as well.
Just quickly on that, I've heard you talking about living like first class experiences.
Yeah.
Just talk a little bit about that, because I think I've heard you talk about going to the gym at a certain time of day, going to activities at certain times of the week, versus again the crowd and what the norm is.
With most things, if you do what everyone else is doing, you will have the worst experience. The worst time to go to the gym is before 8:30 and after 5. The worst time to go to the best restaurant is Friday night at 7:30. There's a bad time to do everything. And so the way to get a better experience is, maybe it's just pay for a better experience. Go to a more expensive gym that's got fewer members, that's got more equipment, it's just more exclusive, or pay for the chef's table at the restaurant, or go to a better restaurant, or go to a more expensive restaurant. But you can equally just have the first class experience by switching up your timings a little bit. So if you train at the gym at 2 p.m. instead of 5 p.m., you're going to have a better experience because it's less busy, and less busy often is just better and a nicer way to be. But what I find so much is that entrepreneurs who otherwise run their own schedule, they're on their own terms, they can spend their day how they want, they still fall into 9 to 5 patterns because we're almost institutionalized to believe that should be the way. And I was a friend Richard one time was telling me why he hadn't been training, and he told me that his weeks were really busy. He had a commute to the office, and then he'd chat to his team, he'd get all his stuff done, he'd have lunch, he'd go out for lunch, and then he'd get stuck in traffic on the way home. And then he told me all this kind of monotony and all these details of his day, and that was why he couldn't. And that all sounds perfectly normal until you find out that Richard owns the business.
Yeah.
It's his business. I was like, what are you doing? Why have you've just created this prison for yourself? You're your own boss, but you're the worst boss in the world, and you're not giving yourself any breaks. Like, why are you even doing this? Like, you might as well get a job. You're acting like you've got a job. Mm-hmm. You're taking all the risk of running your own business. You're taking all the risk of all your team members. You're like working extra hard so that they can all have jobs, so that you can so that you can like have stuff on your own terms. But you're not taking any of the benefits. And it's like, we've earned the right to take the benefits. And that might look like being able to have a nap in the middle of the day and not feel guilty about it, or be able to work on a bank holiday and not feel guilty about it, and being able to go to the gym when you want, a restaurant when you want, everything. So I think if you're thinking about how to live your dream life, forget the playbook that other people are following, because it's probably not the right one for you. There's no rules. If you look at all the things that your default wants to do, you can be like, so what? I don't have to celebrate this. I don't have to not celebrate that. I can do what I want. It just involves being intentional. I think pretty much everything that we talked about is like, but what do you want? But what do you want? And I learned this when I was 21. I was on my graduate scheme and I got assigned a coach, and I didn't have a clue what we were going to talk about when I had my coaching sessions. But most of what she got me to do was think for myself. And when I said to her, I think I might want to start a business after this graduate scheme, she'd be like, okay, what kind of business? I'd be like, oh, didn't see that one coming. Okay. And then I had to think about how to answer that question. And then if I ever talked about a challenge that I had at my workplace, if my default way of describing it was to say, oh, and then I'll wait to see what this person says, and then I'll see what happens there. And she'd be like, what do you mean you'll see what happens? What do you mean you'll wait to see what they say? What do you want? What are you going to say? What do you want to happen? And she just completely switched my mind to being the kind of victim of my life to being the hero of my life. And that's the energy that I feel like if everyone carried through, they would own what they're doing, and they would also it doesn't make you a diva. It doesn't make you a diva. It doesn't make you selfish. It doesn't mean you're not considering other people. It's that you are letting yourself, you are giving yourself permission to do what you want to do. And what happens is that it then gives other people permission to do what they want to do. It's never, I'm doing this and you have to fit in with it. It's, I'm doing this and whatever you want to do is totally fine. And I would rather that you did exactly what you wanted to do because I'm going to do it too. And it's a real healthy energy. And I want all my relationships to have that exact dynamic in them.
Cool, Jodie. It's been so much fun. Let's do the quick fire questions. One thing I always open with here is, what are you optimizing for?
I'm optimizing for peak life. I'm just calling it peak life. I defined it a couple of months ago. And for me, it's, I want to be in the best shape of my life. I want to have the best friendships. I want to be in the best home setup. I want to have the best travel plans. I want to be growing a business that I really believe in. And I want to be training and getting stronger. And I want to be enjoying all of it. I'm just optimizing for peak life. But I also know that my version of a peak life is so different from anyone else's version of a peak life that I don't need my version to match anyone else's. It's just, I know that for me, it's exactly what I want.
If you were starting again, what would you do differently?
If I was starting again in business, I would broaden my horizons so much sooner. I started my agency in Birmingham, UK. I was so Birmingham centric. I didn't realize there was a big wide world out there. I went to very local networking events. I had an office in Birmingham. I feel like I made my own ceiling a little bit and I didn't expand soon enough. And then it meant that sometimes I'd find myself getting caught up in Birmingham agency drama instead of realizing that no, this is just one city, the world's a lot bigger. So I think as soon as possible I would do more research and I would find out what stuff was happening around the world instead of focusing on the place that I happened to grow up in. Because we can get really narrow-minded if we do that.
When you say you go where the money is now, what does that mean? That means where other ambitious entrepreneurs are, not just like Dubai or London or New York.
Well.
Or Dubai, London or New York.
Well, I'm in London right now. I've just been to Dubai and I'm going to New York next month. So it's partly that, yes. Yeah. But it's also being in those networks and it's being around those people. So if you know you're at a certain stage in your career or you're playing a game that means that you want to be surrounded by big ambition and big energy, then who are the other people who have that? And if you are playing a money game because you're trying to build a business with as much revenue as possible or you're trying to sell your business for as much as possible, find other people who think in those stages as well or who think at those magnitudes, because one person's $1 million is being a lot of money, is another person's $1 million is not a lot of money. So it's people for whom their references match the next version up of you and not some past version or some small version.
And do you make sure you're kind of like working next to those people or just meeting up with them, or how do you do that? Like if you're going to New York next month, how would you make sure you're hanging out with those people?
Normally, I mean, I don't think you need a very big community to feel like you've got a really good community. It could be like 6 people. Like I just spent 3 months in Cape Town and had a really good crew. And there was about a core group of 8 of us, but everyone was a kind of writer, personal brandy type. And so that was a real cool community where you just learn so much about that one topic. So I feel like immerse yourself in the people that you want to be more like, but it's not really that you want to be more like them. It's that you want to be influenced by them. You want to let yourself be influenced by them. Given that we're going to get influenced by people anyway, you know that if you hang out with someone with a strong accent for 10 minutes, you take on aspects of their accent. Like it's going to happen. You might as well curate it. But it could be joining a specific network. It could be finding that one friend who you think, you're cool, tell me where you live and I'm going to get an Airbnb really close to you and we're just going to hang out. They will introduce you to their other friends as long as they like you, which they probably will. And then you'll meet that and then you'll meet them and then you'll be part of their community. And then it can happen very naturally.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Oh, honestly, it's just keep going. I want people to just remind me all the time to not give up. The other day, I was searching for, I kind of called it resilience.
Yeah.
The idea that you get these stories of people who hit rock bottom, they should have given up, it shouldn't have worked out, but for some reason they kept on going. I put out on my LinkedIn, tell me your stories of resilience. And I think I got 100 back and I put all of them in my Forbes column because I was like, I want to tell these stories because I think all anyone needs to hear is that tough patch that you're going through is not forever. It's like, it's going to end and you can work through it and it will pass. And so that's all the advice I ever want. And that's a lot of the advice I give other people.
Are you going for a tough patch now?
No, But it's still useful, isn't it? It's still useful to say to people like, you're onto something. I believe in you. You've got this. You just need to carry on. And you just need to carry on going with what's true to you rather than trying to copy someone else.
Mm.
And be more you is the other piece of advice. They're my favorite 3 words together of all time. Telling everyone to be more them and getting reminded to be more me.
What's holding you back right now?
The biggest thing holding me back right now is finding that balance between automating stuff and doing things that don't scale. Because Coach Vox has only been running for just under 2 years, there's a ton of stuff right now that is case by case, doesn't scale because it's not yet ready to be automated. And so I want to strike the exact right balance with that, where I'm talking enough to our customers that I know what they want, I know what we should build next. And I'm not automating too much of that because that would take away from the magic and the knowledge that we need at this stage. But I don't want to go so far with that I miss opportunities to scale stuff and I keep it small. So it's always that balance. And right now, that's the biggest thing that is my biggest challenge right now.
Kindest thing someone's ever done for you?
Right now, I get a lot of gifts sent my way through my website. People they send me gift cards, they send me presents, they send me, like, sometimes they book calls with me, but they're like, oh, I'm not actually booking the call. I just want to like pay you because you've given me this value. So that's quite cool right now. I don't think I realized that showing up, giving advice to the past version of you would have such a profound effect on other people feeling like they're like, she's helped me so much that I need to do something back. And I guess if you've read Influence by Cialdini, the book, it's all around, one of the big kind of rules is reciprocity bias. And it's almost like if you keep putting stuff out there and if you keep sharing your truth, helping the former version of you, you're also helping other people. And then they're building up this real need to thank you in some way. And that feels quite cool. That feels like a game of karma that's quite enjoyable. And also it gives you this sense of abundance, because I just always feel like I don't know what's around the corner. There's going to be magic coming through my inbox and I don't even know yet.
Yeah.
So lots of kind people do lots of kind things all the time.
What are you most proud of?
I think I'm probably most proud of just keeping going when I did feel like I was hitting rock bottom. I felt like I was so lost as a teenager. I was so not me. I wouldn't even recognize my 17-year-old self. I had really long hair, which is part of it. But I was hanging out with people I didn't have anything in common with. I was doing stuff I didn't really believe in. I was kind of trying to figure out who I was and not really getting there. And I definitely remember at school, I went to a sixth form, and sometimes I'd be in the sixth form common room being like, what's wrong with me? Because I don't want to talk to anyone here.
Yeah.
And there's nothing, none of this even matters. I'm studying these things that, maybe they're going to be useful. Like I kind of like them, but it feels really shallow. I just started working and I knew that I really liked working and earning money, but the whole education and who I was hanging out with and everything about my life then, it just didn't quite make sense. And maybe it's because I had started working, so I knew that there was another path that I could follow, that I felt really like I was in limbo. Yeah. But I think I'm most proud of just getting through that time and not going too off the rails to the point where I made my own decisions from when I was like probably about 18. So at 18 was when I told Ben, my now husband, that we were going to start dating. And I do mean told. I was like, amazing. This is now. And he's like, okay. And then I don't think I thought about my next path when I started going to university. But as soon as I started my own business, the path kind of cleared and it became more like, okay, this is Jodie time now. This is go time. Whatever happened before, I wasn't intentional enough. That's fine. I can learn from that. But like, this is where it gets real. Yeah. It's so freeing. Yeah, it's freeing not being part of a system where you have to turn up to somewhere at the same time every day and you have to pass these stupid exams that don't even matter, and you're in this group herd mentality where what someone else thinks is important infects your mind, and then you think it's important, and you think it matters what you wear to go to school and you think it matters what nightclub everyone's going to on a Friday, and it's like none of this matters. So I think I'm just most proud of getting through that. Yeah. What would be your message to your younger self? I think my message to my younger self would be to that that 16, 17-year-old me, and I would be like, this isn't forever. Keep going. Like, you're going to figure this out. It's not making sense right now, but it will make sense in the future. And I think I would also, this can get really emotional. I would encourage this as an exercise for anyone. Write a letter to your younger self, because the idea that if I was speaking to my 16-year-old self and I was saying, in not even that long, you're going to be living the life of your dreams. You're going to have all this stuff here. You're going to have this business. You're going to have sold this business. You're going to have like this partner. You're going to be traveling. She'd be like, what? Like, how did you pull this off? And I'd be like, I don't know. But that's the message I kind of feel like I want her to have now to get through the weird like teenage years of peer pressure and not really knowing who you are. Just that it's like, it's going to be okay.
So to someone who's listened to this, they're super excited. They're like, yeah, I'm going to call bullshit on myself straight after listening to this.
Yep.
I really believe in my dreams, my potential, my goals.
Yep.
Unlocking my dream life. What is your message to them, or what is your next step to them?
Okay. The exact step is stop playing this episode. Oh no, obviously leave the show a rating first, and then stop listening to this episode, and then set an alarm on your phone for 10 minutes. Put it on airplane mode, just shut your eyes and just be, and just kind of let your mind just kind of process what you've heard. Think about you and who you want to be and how intentional you want to be about stuff. Just kind of see where your mind goes. And then I would open them after 10 minutes when the alarm goes off, and I would grab a piece of paper and pen, and I would just doodle, just scribble what comes up for you, because I feel like you'll find answers from the stillness, and then go in that direction and don't care about what anyone else thinks.
Awesome. Thank you so much for doing this, Jodie. It's amazing. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much for having me. Cool.
If you enjoyed my conversation with Jodie and you really love her energy and enthusiasm for life, I think you're going to love my conversation with Daniel Priestley. Just click here to watch that episode.